Man, mankind's brain is full of symbols and models, and it is with this brain that he looks at the world and responds according to the symbols and models in that. Now, a symbol is understood by the speaker and listener because both of them could point it out and say, "See that flower." The speaker says that flower and the listener understands it. So the speaker and listener have a precise meaning for that symbol. But symbols are also given to invisible things which cannot be seen through the senses, but whose effects can be seen or directly measured. So that which is invisible is given a symbol based upon its effects, and that also is understood by the speaker and the listener. So both the visible and invisible could be agreed based upon observed effects. But this ability to create symbols or models created a skill in the human, and he created models on action. For instance, he created a model of what is right action, and there could be several distinct explanation or detail about what constitute right action. That is possibly a cultural acceptance, or it could be of an individual one. There is no reality to right action like you can point out to this flower. It's not like that for right action, but it is something which is in the mind of each person, and so society has culturally agreed to what constitutes right action with a level of detail which varies from person to person. So there's nothing real to it. It is a mental construct, and it is a skill of mental construct which has become greater and greater depth and ability. So for example, we read about human beings who lived in the past, and we create a model about how he was based upon what we have read. And for example, if it's Napoleon, we read about his great wars that he fought, or his relationship with his wife, and different people have different models about him. Sometimes it's limited, sometimes it's vast, but these models are created upon what we read, and it is totally a mental thing. It is fiction, and it is an illusion. But it's not only about real people who lived in the past. It could be based upon stories. For example, people write stories about the Superman, TVs and movies about him. And so we look at it and we create models. Even though we know it's a fiction, we nevertheless have in our mind the model of that person, Superman. So this ability of the brain to create models is like that. We may also create models based upon not merely this type of fiction, but it could be about the Iliad, for instance, or the Ramayana or the Mahabharata, or so many stories are there, and we create models about the heroes in that. But then we go on to further, we create models about the soul. So, for example, mankind has created so many different models about the soul, and we read about these models and we capture it in our mind, and we make it a reality in our mind. But the soul doesn't produce any effects, either as a visible or an invisible. It's a completely mental construct without any reality whatsoever. We also talk about God and gods, all based upon stories or lectures, all created by humans. And we capture that by the constant viewing of television or of music or of dance, and all these creates a sense of reality to us. We go to temples and we capture the idols, and these create pictures. So we increase the mental concept about what God is from temples, rituals, lectures, TV, and we never question that these are only mental constructs and there is no actual reality like the flower that you are seeing. So this comes as a great shock to humans, how much it's only a mental construct and that there's no reality to it. There is another aspect of the skill of model building which has enveloped the humans. Models really capture what we want to communicate. For example, we tell the military they must kill the enemy. So we don't tell the military that it's a human being that they are killing, because that would be traumatic. But by saying it's an enemy, we move the humanness of the person that is being killed. So in our mind, we are not killing humans, but the enemy. And the same thing with the terrorists. So we have a model of an enemy or a terrorist, and killing them is perfectly okay. So we create models in our everyday life for different things to cover up the reality. We never actually see anything. We don't see this flower completely. Oh, we say, okay, this is the name of this flower, and we proceed on. Or so we see the bougainvillea. Oh, it's a bougainvillea. We don't see it sensuously and completely. We don't experience it. But when it comes to the fictional models that we create in our mind, and we stop seeing what is the reality, we extract from what is told to us, what we see in the TV, only those adjectives which will help us to make that model more detailed, and then we capture that. It should affirm our existing models. So we see things only in order to ensure that our models become stronger. So everything is seen with the background of the past. We have stopped seeing the new. That is never captured. But if you look at a living thing closely, such observation is the observation of the new. It is unique. It is a particular. Once you have seen it and it's recorded in your brain, from that memory you can give a name, and you can use that name to point it out to another. But you saw it completely. You did not see it through the symbol. But the listener, having got the symbol in his brain, will see that which you point out through the symbol rather than as a new. Now, from a model, you cannot have a unique experience. From a unique experience, you can go to the model. For example, so if I use the word chair for this, the symbol chair not merely refers to the cane chair, it could refer to this as a chair, it could refer to any chair. But nevertheless, the chair tells the listener what exactly is meant from a utility point of view. And that's enough for the listener. But it doesn't capture at any detail what a unique thing will point out to. So a symbol, in fact, captures in a very efficient way the utility of a thing. And that's what humans need. We want the utility of a thing. We don't need the details of it. So our brains are stuck with models and with the ability to see things in a utility fashion. And if a thing has a certain utility, we capture it. But the adjectives of the thing which doesn't have a utility for us is never captured by us. We ignore all that which is not of a utility to us. So you can experiment with it by looking at various things and see how you capture it, how you look at it sensuously. You give a name to a human being that is unique, and we agree who is that person. But the knowledge of that name doesn't necessarily mean you know that person completely and wholly. That person is constantly changing. And if you're not looking at him or her, just knowing the name is totally insufficient. So that itself shows you how you have to look at people completely without the name. The fact is, we are unable to capture the full significance or understanding of that human being and using a symbol superficially as if we understand the person. Take the case of a subjective feeling and we give it a name. We can know its depth only if we observe it deeply and not superficially. And each person has a different grasp of that subjective feeling. So if a speaker gives a name of a subjective feeling and proceeds to discuss it, the listener must also know about that feeling to a level of detail. That is, he has observed that feeling in himself and has seen the effect of that feeling outwardly. So if he observes that feeling through the name or model, then he does not see the entirety of it. And that's the point the speaker is driving at. To see oneself, you have to do it without the name. Only you can do it. And once you have seen it, you can give a name to it. But while you're observing it, giving it a name will ensure that you do not see it. So, from a unique thing, by giving it a name, it can become a model and you can communicate. But if you listen to your model, you cannot arrive at that unique thing. That unique thing is known only by direct perception and not through the model. This then is the substance. Our brain is full of models and full of the ability to see things only as a utility. And it is with that brain we look at that world. So we end up not understanding because the models are all illusion, models are all not real. So, would you be able to see the world without models, without symbols, and see everything as a unique thing with great affection, with sensuousness? Then you truly are seen.